Hello, Batman and DC fans. Money G here. Yes, welcome to the live stream. We're going to be talking about Matt Reeves' version of the Batman. And here to join me, my good friend Mark, the movie man. Mark, say hello to all the Batman fans.
Howdy. Check it out. I got my batarang. So there we go. We're good.
And once again, a fair warning. We will be spoiling the Batman. So if you have not seen the Batman, I suggest you not watch this video. Go watch the Batman, and then come back and watch the watch the replay. But that's it. Obviously, I'll give you my impressions. But obviously, Mark, what was your impressions of Matt Reeves' version of the Batman?
It's just like every other director who's taken on this material. They're making it their own, though they do give, some throwback or some hints to previous iterations, but it's really his own, and I loved it. But I'm a big sucker for noir and detective films, and I think this is the most detective-y Batman we've gotten out of the Batman that have been portrayed, since '89 Batman, where Batman actually did a little sleuthing and figured out the formula with the
Mm-hmm.
with the products that the Joker put out back in '89. But since then, we haven't really gotten a detective-y Batman, and this is the most detective-y Batman, and it's a young Batman. And I liked it. I liked this world. I liked where they went with it. I knew some people would probably going to have problems with it as I watched it, but for me, this was right up my alley. I'm like, I was all in and I dug everything about it, which is funny because the trailers didn't quite do a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched them, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But then when I got into the film and saw what it was actually going to be, I was like, I'm all in. This is my jam right here.
Yeah, I would have to agree because when I first saw the trailer for the Batman, I says, "Okay, that's nice, but it's not exciting me. It's not exciting me," and that's one of the things that I said in my reviews because the film takes a near oh boy, I can't get this word. I had trouble trying to when I was writing my review. I had trouble trying to pronounce neo.
Neo noir.
Neo noir. That's what
Yeah, there you go.
you got that neo noir look, which
Yeah.
is something we haven't seen in any of the Batman films. We saw
Mm-mm.
something like that in Tim Burton's version of that, but that was I thought that was more of a contrast to that, and I think he was playing aspects of the campy TV show because
Mhm.
you had some campiness in it, mainly due to Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker. He played sort of a over the top villain. Something a little like Caesar Romero did, but a little bit more way over the top as opposed to Heath Ledger's serious version of the Joker. And I thought that, yeah, you have that neo noir look of the field. Batman actually doing investigations, something that we really haven't seen in any of the Batman films. You only practically see that either in the animated series or in, like, say, Batman Arkham Origins, the
Right.
video game. And I really thought that it was a well paced film. I really enjoyed the fight scenes, which we'll talk about later. I like the performances of Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz. I think they actually carried the film. Only complaint was the film was too long.
you know, actually, I will say, while I didn't mind it, and that's the
Hmm.
thing is, I didn't mind the runtime.
Hmm.
I was when it got to, I'm like, okay, you guys could have probably sheared off about 10 minutes of this film, and it would have been even better.
Hmm.
It did feel a little long in a couple places. It didn't take me out of it, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
you could definitely feel it near the end a bit. You're like, okay, let's you could have ended it here, but we ended it
Yeah,
over
because
here.
because I
But
felt the third act was that's when the film kind of dragged a bit. I like I mean they take me out the film because I love the confrontation between Batman and Riddler, and that was a pretty good confrontation because at first you actually think that the Riddler knows that
mhm,
he's Bruce Wayne, but they played upon him, and then he actually goes on and says, we know I thought we worked well together, and then we find out, he was envious of Bruce Wayne because they were both orphans. But we'll talk about his character later. But I like that aspect. But like I said again, just a bit too long. I say about 15 minutes too long. And just
yeah.
like I said in my review, every superhero movie can't be Avengers Endgame.
I it didn't feel though until I will say, yeah, like you mentioned, it didn't feel till actually there's an exact line in it to where I felt they could have probably ended it, which would have been a great place to end it if you're looking at continuing this. But I'm
Hmm.
sure there was a bit of uncertainty of whether or not they would make another one after this one. Was after the and yes, we're spoiling it, folks. It's near the end, and I apologize for jumping ahead, but it's where Riddler is in Arkham and he looks out and the sea walls, the retaining walls are blown.
Hmm.
You know, you could have either ended it there
Hmm.
or used that as the beginning of the next film. And I know but then you would lose the whole point of Batman noticing that, you know, the villain and him had same motivations, which you could have probably done earlier, but it
Hmm.
just yeah, it's one of those things where they almost added on too much. Like, we don't know if we're gonna make another one, so let's just keep adding more stuff on the end. Um, you know, but still, overall, I was not disappointed in it, and I came out pleasantly surprised. And even with that 3 hour runtime, most of it you don't feel it. You
Yeah, you
really
know.
don't.
Yeah, you don't feel it. Like I said, I thought the film was decently, nicely placed. Obviously, the next thing I want to talk about is obviously the storyline. How do you feel about the Riddler being a serial killer as opposed to the normal versions that we've seen of Riddler? Even the Riddler version on Joe Schumacher's Batman Forever.
Oh, don't bring up Batman Forever. You don't want to don't trigger me like that, Lamont. Come on, no, we're not acknowledging Batman Forever. Okay, we're just okay, okay. I'm all right now.
All right, come down, come down, come down.
I'm good. I'm good. I being the horror fan, I loved it.
Mhm,
It felt like the graphic novels I was reading in the 90s when I was actually really keeping up with comics. The darker turn they took Batman stories
mhm,
and characters. You know, I liked what they did with the Riddler once I saw the world that he was in. This
mhm,
one really felt a bit. You mentioned Arkham Origins. This one definitely felt a little bit more like the Riddler from the Arkham series of
mhm.
games.
Yes.
A little bit darker guy. He's still a little off his mark, but you know, a lot more serious. And I really enjoyed his motivation in this one quite a bit. Um, and yeah, even his look, it was like people were making fun of it and that, but it's like once you see it in the world that Matt Reeves has created, that he's put
Mhm,
these characters in, it fits. And I liked the idea quite a bit because it fit this Batman. You know, like
mhm,
you mentioned, uh, Batman is known for his villains, and you've got to have a villain that's kind of that matches your Batman. And I think you really have that here with this Riddler. I dug him. I thought Paul Dano was fantastic in this, actually.
Oh yeah, he was definitely creepy. He is definitely darker than, like, say, Jim Carrey's Batman, or even the Riddler in the Gotham games,
Mhm.
or even say even the Riddler in the campy Batman TV show.
No one will quite replicate him.
So yeah, I know that.
Gershon, there's no other
I know
equivalent
Frank
to
Gorshin. He did a fantastic.
there.
I prefer his Riddler than Jim Carrey's Riddler.
Oh, his Riddler is so much better than Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was
Uh,
trying to, but you're not going to replicate that. There's no way. He would just that is still my favorite Riddler is his Riddler. I
mm,
actually enjoy his performance more than Caesar.
mm,
And I love the Joker too, the 60s camp, but his Riddler, oh my god, the
mm.
riddles they came up with were
I know you got to give the writers credit for coming up with those riddles. And I mean, even in
uh,
the Gotham games, some of the riddles that
mhm.
they come up with are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Paul Dano did a fantastic job. I kind of give him a bit of a combination, I would say, between him and maybe Anarchy,
Hmm.
because of how his motivations are. And I think one of the reasons why I think his character works is because of the world that Matt Reeves created. And this is a different version of Gotham. You still have the corruption and the mistrust, but it's really heightened in this show, in this particular
Mhm.
movie here, as in any other version that we've seen of Gotham. I think even the Gotham TV show, this Gotham is more polluted and dangerous and deadlier than the Gotham in the TV show.
Oh yeah, no, this Gotham was a complete cesspool.
Mm,
Um, which which I on one hand you might think, oh, you're just over the top or you're making social commentary. I don't care about any of that. As far as
mm,
Batman goes, I loved it because it made an already awesome Commissioner Gordon
mm,
even better. Um, as much as I've loved all the other Commissioner Gordons, and um, I'm a huge fan of Gary Oldman,
mm,
but I will say this is probably my favorite Gordon. And I think part of it is because you have so much corruption and other, you know, uh, cops that we see on screen, or you've got all this underbelly going on within the law enforcement that just makes his character even better than it
mm,
already is. For the contrast. So yeah, I dug it, and that's where I love. That's why it feels like a true like pulp noir novel in that
mm,
you could easily, and I hate to say it, and it's no slight against the film, you could easily replace Batman with your gumshoe PI in the trench coat
mm.
and the alcohol problem. I- in a way, you could almost put his that type of character in the role of Batman, but we have Batman in that role. And yeah, Gotham's a cesspool, even more so than we've ever, I think, seen before. Like you mentioned, anywhere. It's bad.
Hell yeah, it's terrible. You can't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody. I'm like, well, damn, is everybody dirty? But I did like the mystery aspect of it, because that's one thing that also kept me intrigued in the movie, was not only because the chemistry between Robert and Zoe as
Mm,
Batman and Catwoman, but the mystery aspect. Who is the rat? Why is the Riddler going after these people? Why is he trying to expose all this corruption? And of course, like I said, the puzzles were I love the riddles. The riddles are very interesting, especially when they had the funeral for the mayor, and
mm.
then the cop, one of the corrupt cops. He's got this bomb hooked up on his throat, and you really must be afraid of somebody if you're willing to let yourself get blown up instead of just telling the person. Because that guy, he said, I can't give it up. I can't get up, and just boom. I like, damn, that's sad.
That was, yeah, that's brutal. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was I like that because it gave it what I enjoyed even more with that aspect, and I think it's really a credit to the way they write it, is uh he was afraid. And so you think, like with a lot of comic book films, it's going to be some mega villain, like a Bane or some really like over the top. And you find out actually no, it's John Turturro makes you forget, as I mentioned this in my review, he
Hmm.
makes you forget he was in Transformers, which
I
is a
know,
great
yeah,
thing.
yeah, no, yeah.
He was so scary and so perfect in this, and I loved that he ends up being, yes, spoiler folks, uh, the main villain. I loved that it was bringing it back to the organized crime and gangster roots that a lot of the Batman stories dealt with, more so than, over the top villains.
Hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, that's one of the good things I find interesting, is the fact is that there's no true supervillains here.
Uh-uh.
We don't have someone that's trying to destroy Gotham, or we're not someone that's trying to do this or do that. All they're doing is trying to keep up with the corruption that they have in the city. And I thought
Mhm.
that was a little more grounded to earth, as opposed to the other superhero films, or even some of the other Batman films that we've seen.
Mhm.
Like saying Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. Ra's al Ghul wants to destroy Gotham, because it's becoming so corrupt. And the only thing I can do is just destroy it. Which is typical of the character in the
Mhm.
comics. You know, as opposed to, like, say, either other superhero films, or
Right.
even the disgusting Batman and Robin film.
I used to hate that film more than the other one, but
Mhm.
than Forever. But after rewatching it a few years ago, no, Forever is really the one that makes me angry now. Batman and Robin, not so much because they were just trying to do 1966 all over again. I don't know what they were doing with
Yeah,
Forever.
I don't know what Joe Schumacher is. Joe Schumacher was trying to do. I mean, it's to me, it's not the worst superhero film I've ever seen.
No, no,
It's not the worst superhero film I've seen, and it does have some good moments in the film. Like the fact that they were trying to do something a little bit different. They were trying to bring in Barbara Gordon in, but they
yeah.
decided to go into a completely different direction with that character, with uh, with,
Uh,
with Batgirl.
and that's leads back to what you were saying too, with this ending of this film. I think that's what took a little bit away from the ending for me, was the fact that up until the explosion, it was a Falcone and the organized crime and everything, and then we get our over the tops, basically super villain moment with him destroying the retaining wall of the water and
Mhm.
flooding a good chunk of Gotham. Though I will admit, I am impressed they committed to such a wide scope of a disaster,
Mhm.
and they didn't resolve it immediately at the end of the film. Like you fast forward like a
Mhm.
year a year later,
A year later.
the water has drained away and everything is back to normal and we've rebuilt. You know, it ends on kind of that, yeah, we've got to rebuild Gotham, and they've got more of a no man's land feel to it.
Mhm.
Which, since the place is flooded, I'm gonna just throw it out right now. I want to see Killer Croc. So there you go. But but I think he'd be too over the top for this world that Matt
Mhm.
Reeves has.
Yeah, if they were to do it, they would probably not make him uh some the type of monster he's evolved over the years,
Yeah.
as opposed to, like, say, I don't remember when he first came into the comics, but I think now, especially in the games, where he's more of a
Yeah.
bestial side of himself, he would be something of a human that has this condition,
Hmm.
where he looks like an out where he it looks like he has tough skin, but not where he's wants to eat people all the time.
No, no, but they've used his character now over the years as more of the uh uh defender of the downtrodden and the impoverished of Gotham,
Mm,
more so, how he protects the slums and that of Gotham and the lower income neighborhoods and
mhm,
such like that. So they've kind of turned his character around to where he's more than just a beast too. But yeah, it like that's the and again, I didn't mind it, don't get me wrong, but I would have almost liked them to just end it without having the big huge disaster in Gotham. But I understand, because the way they did it, you can now have it open or close ended, whether or not they decide to make another one, which I suspect they're going to. But yeah, I'm digging this world, and it fits so well, pretty much everything. And John Turturro, who knew?
mhm.
I barely
Yeah, I
recognized
barely
him at first.
recognize him. Speaking of the other one, you can barely recognize Colin Farrell in the makeup playing the Penguin.
Oh, the penguin. I loved what I liked about the penguin in this one is he reminded me, again, we're bringing it up, but of Arkham series, the
Mhm,
penguin there, to where he's not as much of a super villain type character, but he's a gun runner. He's an organized crime guy. He's more
mhm,
of the penguin from Gotham
mhm.
than he is of, Tim Burton's penguin.
Yeah, he's kind of a little bit more. 'Cause I think what Matt Reeves did, I think he also might have saw some of the characters in the Arkham games,
Mhm.
because he's a little bit of a reflection of that penguin, minus the British accent that he
Yeah.
has. Like in the games, he's got a British accent, but in here, he's a more of a gangster, a gun runner. So he's definitely a little bit more of that type, as opposed to, like say the that Danny DeVito played in Batman, no, Batman Returns.
Returns, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even Burgess Meredith's
Mm.
penguin. you know,
Yeah. Mm.
a little bit like that, but his Penguin was over the top too, doing a lot more grandiose things to where this guy's more of a organized crime business guy with aspirations of being the, the number one.
Mm.
So,
So obviously, it was interesting that they would have Catwoman in here, and not that many people didn't say anything about when Chloe Cabot was cast as Catwoman. But what do you think of her version of Catwoman? A little bit different version that we've seen of Catwoman as, say, like Michelle Pfeiffer or Anne Hathaway.
yeah, well, Anne Hathaway suffered from some bad writing, unfortunately. I didn't mind her Catwoman at all, but I was having this discussion with someone and I was like, unfortunately, her Catwoman suffered from a movie they had to toss together real quick.
Mm,
So hers was not quite as memorable as Pfeiffer's or Eartha Kitt or
mm.
Julie Newmar, who have wore the manual, or Halle Berry in that that
Now you want to talk about a bad superhero movie? No, don't get me wrong. I actually like what they tried to do with the Selena Kyle character.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
different take on the Catwoman character. I like what they tried to do, but I don't know who wrote who wrote that script. Oh
it
God.
That movie had great intentions, but it was just executed so poorly. But
Poorly, and then to make it worse, not to get Sharon Stone, but oh.
she's not a super villain.
No,
No, no.
no, no,
So
no.
no, I again, much like Nolan, much like Burton's, these characters, these versions of the characters fit the world they're in. And I
Mhm,
really enjoyed her take on Catwoman because
mm,
she did have elements that we're familiar with Catwoman in the past. Her idea of protecting another person. She usually has another female person she's trying to help,
mhm,
or she befriends, who kind of knows her identity as a companion or sometimes lover or whatever. And so she has those elements, but she really makes it her own. And I loved her in this role too. I thought she got an interesting story. It
mhm.
it didn't take away, but it didn't quite get shadowed either by Batman's story.
Yeah.
Their stories kind of ran parallel to each other, which was nice.
Mhm,
But I like her iteration of Catwoman quite a bit. She still has that somewhat attraction to Batman, but in this one, unlike Batman Returns, which if you don't get the sexual undertones of
mhm.
Batman Returns, you are missing the point. All of those are sexually deviant people. But in this one, you don't have that, but it's almost a bit more playful, it seems like, with her and her feelings towards Batman than anything. Like she their relationship, there's a lot of chemistry between Pattinson and Kravitz, which I was impressed with.
Mhm.
But you also get the feeling at the same time that Catwoman at any point could just say, "Bye, Batman." Uh, there are some feelings there. They care for each other, but at the same time, she's like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to go my own way. Peace." You know,
Mhm. And then she does too.
and she does too. And it felt okay though. You didn't seem to have any like, like real huge amount of the romantic melodrama. They're just like, nah, I'm staying. She's like, oh, okay, I'm going then. Bye.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminds me of the relationship that they have in the Arkham games, especially
Right.
in Arkham
Mhm.
Knight. Arkham Knight in that aspect of the game. They have the little playfulness in there, and like I said, I liked how their stories were parallel, but she's not overshadowed. She's not overshadowed, nor does
Mm.
she take over the whole film. He has his arc, she has her arc, and I also thought it was interesting that they actually made her a why can't I get my words together? A
Uh,
relative to a
right.
gangster. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I liked that twist quite a bit. I thought that
Mhm.
was a nice little different spin on the character. And again, it fit the
Mm,
story, it fit the world.
mhm.
It felt like, okay, yeah, I can buy into it. I mean, because by the time that gets revealed, you're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
you
because
know.
I said to myself, that actually kind of fits because you're wondering why would a woman be in this particular world
Right.
if she doesn't like it. Now, but
Hmm.
obviously, we find out as the story progresses the reason why she's in that world, and eventually that gets revealed that that's her father. So I was like, "Wow, that's a good reveal. I like that. I like that." I was playing surprised, and I said, that fits the narrative of the story.
Hmm.
Mm.
It felt natural. It didn't feel like a shoehorned gimmick, like, oh, look at what we're doing or whatnot. The way they present her character and the way you kind of ease into being comfortable with her version of the character and learning about her, by the time that reveal is there, you're like, yeah, okay, I can see it. Yeah, all right,
Hmm.
that explains why she's putting up with so much crap
Hmm.
in Penguin's club. And she even makes that point to the Batman at one point. He's like, well, yeah, you didn't seem to have problems peddling drugs at the Penguin. She's like, shut up, you don't know.
I mean, you don't know.
You have no idea my intentions there. Just
Mhm.
shut up, Bat Boy.
That was decent. I actually like that line too because he confronts her and then she tells him off.
Yeah, she just straight up just you know, that ain't the way it is. If that's how you feel, there's the door, Chief.
Mhm.
It's like, and did parallel her motivation with that, did parallel a little bit with Catwoman's in Returns, where she wanted to take out Shrek. It just added a little bit extra because it's relatives. It actually
Mhm.
felt a little bit more natural that way, that it was a relative, and the what he had done with to her mom, and also to her friend, who they discover, which, yeah, that was actually seriously, I dug this movie. All these scenes and that, the way they had stuff revealed, everything, it makes me smile thinking about all this.
So, what do you thought about the action scenes in this particular film?
It was nice to see what was going on.
Mhm.
I thought they were shot well and directed well. They didn't go way too far, and they felt like natural action scenes, and there's some brutal fights,
Oh yeah.
both Catwoman and Batman, especially, fights. There's one scene where Catwoman is she's finally decided to pull the trigger, literally,
Mhm.
and get her dad, and the lights go off where she's at, and she's fighting this one thug, and all you see is the silhouette,
Mhm.
but you see the silhouette, and she drops down and like, leg sweeps the guy, and the guy's head slams onto a pool table, and you watch his head actually rubberneck backwards, and you're just, my friend and I watching it, we're just like, oh.
Like, ooh, that that looked very painful.
I'm like, I hope that stunt guy got extra pay that day, because that looked like it hurt.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
and that's the thing, is these fights do feel like they hurt, like there's some weight to it, there's some threats to them, and you, like I said, you could tell how it's going. This is probably the most beautifully shot. Yes, I know Nolan fans are probably skewer me. I don't care. I think this is probably one of the best shot Batman films of any of the Batman films.
Mhm.
And these fight scenes reflect that. You could tell what was going on. You weren't always just up close and jittery, and which is good, because there's a lot of art and there's a lot of choreography in these fight scenes and these action scenes that they have, that is appreciated. You can tell. And yeah, I dug all the fight scenes too. I thought they were well choreographed.
Yeah, I thought so too. It's the front man, kick ass, but he is also getting his ass kicked. He's
Yeah.
because I like the fact in the beginning of the scene when he takes on that
Mhm.
gang, and and even though he's kicking their ass, he's still getting his ass kicked. He gets punched, he gets hit with a bat.
Y-
you know, he's almost he gets surrounded by these people and he's getting kicked all over the place. So, like I said, that's good that they actually show that he's not, because 'cause everyone knows that the show takes This movie takes place when he's just 2 years, and
Right.
he's not the refined, well trained fighter
Mm.
that we all come to know him to become. Later on in his life. But so I like the fact that they actually show the fact that he gets his ass kicked. There's another great scene, fight scene that I see, and I never actually see this in a Batman movie where he's really getting fired upon with machine guns, and he's still coming.
He was maybe a little too bulletproof. I know my buddy said, I know it's a superhero film and all, but he seems a little too bulletproof. But at the same time, the way they play it, and that you could almost see how they could try, they could kind of make a case to where how he could get around that, or how the bullets were or whatnot.
Mhm.
In all honesty, at that point in the film, I didn't really care because it's a freaking awesome action scene to
I know,
where
yeah, this is brilliant.
freaking pitch black hallway. Batman shows up, lights go out, and you don't see anything. Only the flash of the guns is when you see Batman and he's fighting the guys, and the guns are going off as the light. That's the only source of light. It's
Mhm.
it's beautiful. I was like, oh, that's
I
so
mean, they certainly did a better job than Resident Evil did. Because that's the first thing that
oh,
came in my mind
oh
when I
wow.
when that scene came up. I said, "No, see, this is how you film a scene like that."
There's a lot of issues with Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. That was just one of them. Uh, that movie. Whoo, okay.
Oh boy! What are you gonna do?
Wait, I mean, there's some people that have really enjoyed that film. Mad props to you. I watched it going really, really, and it
It's to me, and not to get off topic, but it's to me, it's like I get what they were trying to do, and I give them credit for at least trying to make it
right.
more relevant to where the games are. But if you're going to try to do that, I don't think they should have tried to mesh parts one and two together. I think they should have did
No,
just the part one.
with
You
with
know.
that set that they had,
Hmm.
they should have did the whole movie just in the house, like the first game, because that's the set looked
Oh
perfect.
yeah, the
It
set
was
piece was
like
decent. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I mean,
I
the
was like,
mansion scene just looks like the Spencer Mansion. Raccoon City warehouse looks like the warehouse. It's like I see you guys really did a good job, but unfortunately, it's like you got to stop trying to cram. So I know a lot of people don't like the Paul S.W. Anderson Resident Evils, and I like some of his movies in that series. Some of them are good, some of them are obviously terrible. But I think he should have did a lot better if he just would have stuck to just do one aspect of the game. You can throw little hits of the second game in there, but he tried to put too much into one movie, and he definitely did disrespect to Leon.
oh man, oh man. But I was worried. Speaking of too much, I was worried with the Batman how many characters they were going to put in here, but
Hmm.
the way they presented the characters, like we mentioned with the Penguin, how he's not exactly the super villain,
Hmm.
and even the Riddler in some respects, while he's the more serial killer in this, he's not exactly super villain. I mean, he has some of the bigger moments, but at the same time, there's an interesting balance that they give all these characters that
Hmm.
to where I didn't feel like anyone got slighted,
No.
really.
I
You know.
know because just like you mentioned before, Jeffrey Wright he did a fantastic
Oh,
job as James Gordon. Yeah, it's like I said, one of the best versions of James Gordon I've seen, and not to give Gary Oldman any slack because he did a pretty good job. But the fact that he knows that this city is corrupt, the cops are corrupt, and we finally have somebody that's willing to make a change. So he's willing to
mhm,
go out of his way to help Batman, especially in that scene where Batman is in the police station locked up,
mhm,
and mostly all the cops hate him, and James Gordon was the only one that would trust him, and he helps him escape too. And I said,
yeah,
that's a good way to create that partnership because these are two enduring characters that they have
mhm.
throughout the whole legacy of Batman. And I thought Jeffrey Wright did a fantastic job.
I think what really does it is and I think this is what helps sells and elevate his James Gordon from the others, which again, I really enjoyed the others as well. But I think
Mm,
what elevates it for him I did not expect the chemistry between him and Pattinson that you
Mm-hmm.
get between his Batman and Gordon. I'm like, wow, this. I'm like, there's. You believe it? That's Gordon and Batman. That's the
Mm-hmm.
relationship that you would see in the comics, to where
Mm-hmm.
Gordon isn't exactly like, "Oh my, you're Batman. Thanks for helping me."
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of on an even level of equal levels. Gordon is like, "Yeah, I give you only so much rope, okay, uh, on your leash." But at the same time, he doesn't. He's not like worship or in awe of Batman, or feel like he's not an equal. I really felt like Gordon and Batman were equals
Mm-hmm.
in different ways on this. I could be off, but I really just enjoyed that relationship, and it surprised me how well they did that, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's really been done too well in any of the other films.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, gotta ask this question. Robert Pattinson, not many people were too happy when he got cast as Batman. Now, just to give a little background, everybody know that this movie was supposed to be Ben Affleck's first solo outing as a Batman, and it was supposed to be part of the DCEU, but for some reason he got cast. He decided not to do it. He got pulled out. I think was Zack Snyder supposed to write this too, or somebody else? I don't remember if Zack Snyder
Initially, Zach, I think, was going to, but then all of the hoopla and stuff that happened
with Justice League.
with Justice League, it kind of, I think
Yeah,
he pulled himself away, I think.
yeah, because of it. And then Matt Reeves came in and he decided that, you know what, I'm not going to include anything with the DCU. So he took all that aspect out, wrote his own story, and then cast Robert Patterson. Obviously, we're not going to talk about Twilight, but what do you think, Robert Patterson's performance?
I think, again, fitting for the world that Matt Reeves has put in. We have to realize this is a younger Batman. He's only in his second year. Even with Nolan's Begins, he was still older. This is a young Batman. I
Mm,
mean, because Christian Bale was a bit older as
yeah.
he was doing Batman. This is a younger Batman who's
Mm,
doing starting out, and I like Patterson's Batman within this world. He's Keaton will always be near and dear to my heart.
mm,
I liked him a little bit more than uh, Bales, but yeah, I thought it was fine. And he grows on you as you watch this film. When you first see him, like you said, when you see him, you see the scene from the trailer is probably the first time we see him.
mm,
And you do get a voiceover, which you're like, oh, voiceover, oh no, but at least they tie it to him actually writing the journal. So it's not
mm,
like a complete, like, just disembodied voiceover. He's writing in his journal. But I liked him. He was still emo. I mean, he was still emotional,
mm.
but seeing him in this world, in this film, and seeing the way they wrote him, yeah, I liked him. I couldn't see Affleck's Batman in this world. In all honesty, I
No.
see the way Pattinson plays it. This is the Batman you need for this Gotham and this Matt Reeves world. I think so.
Mm. But yeah, because I actually enjoyed his performance. I thought he played a much more young. He was younger and
Mhm.
angrier version of Bruce Wayne because he's still angry. Obviously, he trusts no one other than James Gordon. He kind of reminds me of the Batman version of Batman, Batman Arkham Origins.
Mhm.
Angrier, younger, not refined.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, you can see some of the stuff that he does. While he does show his great mind as being a detective, we can see him struggle at times when he, like in that scene when he escapes from the police station and
Yeah.
he's afraid of heights. Yeah, he's like, whoa, because we all know Batman's not afraid of heights, but this is the first time that we actually see him that he's a bit hesitant, and so we know that he's not refined. I like the fact that how and I think also in his relationship with Alfred is another interesting aspect
Mhm.
of the film too. He doesn't really care about. the fortune or the legacy of the Waynes.
Hmm.
I thought that was interesting aspect of it. Again, because he's more inclined to be Batman, because this is the first time where we actually see Batman more than we actually see Bruce Wayne. Like most of the other films, we do get Bruce Wayne and Batman. This is the first time we just get, I say, about at least 20 to 30% of Bruce Wayne, and that's it.
Hmm.
Everything else is him being Batman.
Yeah, they definitely stick more to exploring him trying to find his way as Batman still. He's still trying to figure out in year two. And
Mm,
you're right. It is unusual that we spend more time with him in the Batcave than we do in Wayne Manor and him talking with Alfred.
mm,
The dynamic with Alfred, which great. And Andy Serkis was great as
mm.
Alfred.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
that's one I saw a meme and I have to agree with it. I don't think I've ever seen a bad casting of Alfred. That's usually one character they get right. You know, and even in here, they play to what is out of the comics with Alfred having a military background. That comes
Hmm.
into play in this film where he's helping Batman decipher code
Hmm.
from the Riddler. They have that, even though they have a little bit more tension-filled relationship than we've seen with other Alfreds,
Hmm.
uh, which I kind of liked as well. I liked seeing that because then it made the reveal of why he's actually been the way he has to Bruce in the hospital even more potent, even more meaning,
Hmm.
because he sacrificed possibly being the nicer, kinder father figure to Bruce for a specific reason.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, because I like the fact that this. I think this is also the first time that we actually see that Thomas Wayne is not the moral great guy that we come to know throughout any of the Batman mythos. And I like that aspect of the fact that, hey, wait, Thomas Wayne corrupt? Even though we once we get the reveal of what truly happened, the fact that
right.
this reporter was going to out his Martha's mental illness, and he did not want that. He didn't know Albert. I think he was more concerned about Bruce finding about, and so that's the reason
Mhm.
why he went to Carmine to take care of it. But he didn't know he was going to kill the guy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the way they set it up with Thomas Wayne, you realize on the whole, he was a good person, but he made a bad decision.
Hmm.
As they said, a kind of a knee jerk, like spur of the moment in the heat of the controversy in that decision, which he normally probably wouldn't. Uh, and yeah, I like how they set it up. And there's some people that are like, "Oh, I can't believe they did that to Thomas Wayne." I'm like, yeah, but they set it up in a way to where he's not completely corrupt. He made a dumb call,
Yeah, he
and it
just made.
ended up being a bad call. It
Yeah, no,
just
yeah, he made a bad call. Yeah, it's interesting because I like the fact that Reeves decided to touch on Martha Wayne's mental illness,
Mhm,
because that draws back to an Elseworld storyline
mhm.
where Bruce gets killed, and then Thomas Wayne becomes Batman, and then Martha she snaps and becomes the Joker.
I love Elseworlds. Elseworlds, they
Yeah, and
do
I
some
thought that was.
crazy things. I remember that issue. I
Yeah, no,
remember that.
yeah. I said, "Oh man, no, I never read it, but I just thought the whole thing was interesting." I said, "Wow, whoever thought of that? That's a good one." Yeah, she snaps to become the Joker. Then when I first saw that in the movie, the first thing hit my mind was, "Oh man, where did Mad Reeves get that idea from from the Elseworlds?"
It, it might have. I mean, I think he dug a little deep with some of the bat lore, like with the Batmobile that they have. That's actually pulled from the comics.
Yeah.
There was a diagram showing how the different parts of the costume were actually taken from different issues and different storylines of the Batman. So I mean,
Hmm.
they did some of their research on here.
Oh
It
yeah, they
felt like,
definitely did some research. I know they took elements from the Long Halloween and Year
Hmm.
One. I know
Hmm.
that's like just like with Christopher Nolan. He took elements of was it Nightfall,
Yep.
No Man's Land. And I forgot the other aspect of one of the other things he did in Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. He
Right.
took three elements of that show. of that movie, some of the Batman comics.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I like Pattinson's Batman. I like this world. I like pretty much the whole thing with this film, outside of it going a little long. What's funny is I didn't expect to. I figured I'd be like, yeah, okay, it's gonna be an all right Batman. I'll see it. I
Hmm.
didn't expect it to start enjoying it as much as I did as I was watching the story unfold. And a lot, they take some chances with it. They take some chances that are probably going to ruffle some feathers of people who are expecting kind of your straight superhero film, because that's not what this is.
No, it's not. It's not a superhero film. It's just like with the Joker.
Hmm.
That's not a superhero film. That's more of a character aspect of
Right.
seeing a man simply just degrade mentally,
Hmm.
as he sees, as the world continues to fall apart around him. We see his mental anguish degrade. Something that
Right.
that actually, I mean, even though we really don't know the Joker's actual origin story, but one aspect of the Joker. He just simply just had one bad day. That character in the Joker, he's just continued has one bad day after another, and
Right.
that's why, even though I never considered that a superhero film, that's more of a character study of
Hmm.
the guy who already has mental issues, and he actually says to the not to go off topic again, he actually says to a psychiatrist, he says he just can't simply just can't enjoy life. He simply just have problems having a good day.
Yeah. And you know what? That's what I liked about with the Batman is Batman doesn't necessarily have a good day.
Mm-mm,
There's times where he's a little behind the Riddler, especially near the third act, where we get the big superhero, where it takes the regular kind of comic book superhero end with the explosions in that. But I even liked how that played out, how he realized he missed something. And
mm-mm,
I like that because it shows he's still learning.
mm-mm,
A lot of the Batman that we've seen live action, he's already kind of confident in what he's doing.
mm-mm,
He knows. Even if the villain's ahead of him, he's just like, okay, yeah, no, no. But here, he really makes some mistakes and he misses the mark on something.
mm-mm.
Like the head blowing scene.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't expect this. Okay, who saw that coming?
I know. Yeah, that's why I said, he's telling him you got to tell who the rat is, and the guy he didn't want to give it up, so he ready to just had his head explode. I said, "Damn, now that's that's sad." Because you would think that the guy, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if the Riddler thought the guy was going to give him up or not, but I think he didn't care. I think
No,
I don't
no.
think he cared. I think he just say, "Look, he gives it up, fine. If he doesn't, he's dead." So,
Yeah, yeah. No, he didn't really care. That guy was gonna die.
mm,
That's the one thing with the Riddler characters that you have there, is that yeah, they're gonna die. He's trying to give him a chance to escape, but it's not. It's kind of like Saw. There's like a 0.01% chance they're gonna actually survive the.
Uh, how would you rank this Batman as opposed to either the we'll leave out the 43 the because I said in my review the actual first live action Batman came, I think it was 43,
Yeah, yeah.
1943. Yeah.
It was,
Well,
yeah, it was like,
yeah.
yeah, they did the serial back then. I've watched some of those. Those are fun. I mean, they're very dated, but
I bet they are. I mean, I heard of them. I
it,
never saw them.
it,
I mean, I
uh,
did see Batman the movie with Adam
sure.
West and Burt
Oh
Ward,
yeah.
so you know that's how campy that is. But as far as either Tim Burton's, Joe Schumacher's, Christopher Nolan's Batman films,
Oh.
where would you rank this at, and where do you see Matt Reeves going with this particular version of Batman?
Oh, where would I rank it? Yeah, I'm gonna say second best. I mean, the Batman '89 really is close and near and dear to my heart. So that's part of my rating, is just that's one of those milestone films that was very influential for me. And
Hmm.
um, even if it's with some of its warts, I still really enjoy that film quite a bit. but I enjoyed this one nearly as much, and I didn't expect that.
Hmm.
So I would say probably second, um, tied with maybe with the Dark Knight, um, quite a bit. I've enjoyed both of them about as equally. So those would kind of be tied for second,
Hmm.
because it was Batman and then the Dark Knight was probably the second, but this was is probably tie with that.
Yeah.
Um, where I see it going, I hope he keeps it a little more grounded like he has.
Hmm.
I got into a discussion with someone online saying they could really dig into some of the more interesting rogues gallery of Batman that aren't exactly uh super meta humans or whatnot.
Hmm.
They could easily dig into the ventriloquist with Scarface. I
Yeah.
would love He would so fit in this world, I think,
Hmm.
or the clock, the was it the Clock King?
Yeah. The Clock
Uh
King.
yeah, those characters, those guys who may not be as well known too, so you could play with them a little more.
Hmm.
But they aren't such big villains like the Joker.
Yeah, like the Joker. Yeah, I can actually see Professor Pig in this
Oh,
world.
yeah.
I think that character would be an interesting aspect in this
Mhm.
film. He would definitely fit this world, but he's not one of the well-known uh, Batman villains in his Rose Gallery because everyone is already talking about. Let's see the Joker. Let's see
No, 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 no,
let's
no.
let's
I want to see Mad Hatter. If you want a Joker type character, get Mad Hatter and put him
yeah, get
in
Jervis Beck.
Reeves' world. Yeah, because he deals with hypnotism and that'd be a heck of a lot more believable. And I think you could do again a lot of things with a lot of the other rogues gallery characters that are a little bit more grounded than being just super meta humans or
Mm,
just so charismatic like the Joker. We've had the Joker done so many times. That's why I got a little worried when they have the Riddler in there, and it's supposed to be the Joker talking
mm,
to the Riddler, you know, and I was like, I would be okay if they do a second film if they have Joker. If Joker is more of running the other villains, kind of like being the kingpin mastermind behind manipulating the other villains, and he's not actually the guy doing the stuff himself. He's
mm.
sending out these villains or these crazy guys from Arkham to do his stuff for him. Then I would probably like the Joker a little more. I would be okay with the Joker the next film, but we've done it so many times for the Joker. And don't get me wrong, I love the Joker, one of my favorite villains. At the same time, so many other characters. It's like Marvel.
Mm.
Marvel, like for the 10 years, they kept pulling from the popular characters. It's like, give us some other characters. Then we had like Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, I'm not familiar with these guys. These guys are really cool. I'm digging this. Oh no, now we're back to Iron Man and Captain America. I'm like, and Thor, and Hulk. We've seen these guys,
Uh, oh man, that was good. I'm pretty sure. Did you enjoy? Not to get off topic, but did you enjoy Hawkeye, the Hawkeye TV series?
I did. I did
Mm,
quite a bit actually.
mm,
I was a little worried where they were going with it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it by the time I got to the end. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Haley Steinfeld too. So,
mm,
um, but no, I liked what they added to it. I liked the exploration of his character quite a bit. You know, um, and yeah, I thought Hawkeye was really good, and that's what I like. I like stuff like that, and in a way, Reeves is the Batman is kind of in that vein. I mean, it's more gritty and serious, but still, it's
mm.
it's featuring a little bit more of a grounded character for the most part. A grounded superhero and grounded villains, and I think that's where you kind of want to go. Not necessarily Nolan's route with what he did,
Mhm,
but something like what you've got here with Reeves and with Hawkeye and with explore these other characters who may not exactly have superhuman strength or anything, but great exploration of character.
oh yeah, yeah. Because I would prefer to see a little bit other villains in Batman's Rose Gallery, not just the same villains that we've seen before. I mean, you can have moments of the Joker in here. Put it this way, if you want, even you can even have moments of having Harley Quinn in there. if you wanted to go the route. But
Mhm.
I would prefer that you either use Professor Pig's character or some of the other galleries that we've seen come up throughout a Batman's road gallery. Hey, look, if you want to even do that, I mean, put it this way: if you want to, I can't remember, there's a villain like the Clock King.
Mhm.
There's some other
Rat
villains,
Ratcatcher, Ratcatcher.
Ratcatcher.
We've done Ratcatcher in the his Ratcatcher 2. You could easily do Ratcatcher.
Hmm.
That would be more of a believable one.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, you could maybe pull off Man Bat. Maybe that's a little too over the top, with
Hmm.
him changing into a bat. Uh, but yeah, there's plenty of characters. I will say, who would probably be a fairly believable character in Reeves, and you could still go over the top, is
Hmm.
I'd love to see a proper Mr. Freeze.
No, yes, yes,
I
do it. Yeah,
Could you imagine Mr. Freeze in the Reeves world? That I could almost picture.
yeah. I think I can think you can keep him grounded,
Hmm.
not like what they did with him in Gotham, the Gotham TV show, or in Batman and Robin.
Oh, Batman and Robin. Oh.
Uh,
Hey,
uh,
he's supposed to be this kind of Dr. Spindly guy, not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
uh,
Wow.
what are you
Ooh,
gonna do?
yeah. You could even do Poison Ivy, I think. I think you could almost get away with Poison Ivy and Reeves's Batman if you played it a little bit differently,
Hmm.
you know. I'm figuring they're gonna do a second film. I mean, what? It made this past
120,
weekend
man,
128 or
yeah,
130
120,
million? Yeah,
yeah, no,
128.
128 domestically. I think maybe two something worldwide. It's unfortunately it won't get to the 1 billion club because
Yeah.
it probably might get eight to nine, but it just didn't make enough where it could, because eventually it's going to start dying out some, so it's not going to make the $1 billion club, but it will make money. It
It,
will.
it's gonna make money for a DC film. It's gonna make bank. All right. It's
Hmm.
for as much as people hate DC films or criticize them, they still make some bank.
Hmm.
And I think part of the overseas issue, unfortunately, is what's going on in the real world. A lot of
Hmm.
people don't exactly feel like going out to the theater, especially for a
Hmm.
3-hour film.
Hmm.
This is the Titanic syndrome. It's like the Titanic was wonderful. It's a 3-hour movie. It still made bank, but it took some time because it takes longer for more showing.
When I first saw the Titanic, I said, this is a pretty good film. Don't really need the romance. Don't really need the romance, but I get the reason why a lot of people loved it. And no, I had nothing against Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate
Mhm.
Winslet. That was the whole focus of the story. But I was more interested in the ship sink.
Well, I mean, with that film, it was Cameron and attention to detail. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of people hate on Cameron, but I'll give him this.
Oh, yo, he's
With
great.
with that film, he threw so much into it. It was such a passion project. And I remember back then, folks, $200 million for that film back then was huge.
Hmm.
People thought it was going to go bankrupt. They
Hmm.
thought it was going to just bomb. They're like, who spends $200 million on a film? I know, right? Kind of funny nowadays. And it made three plus hour movie, $200 million. It had all the formula for the 90s of being a bomb, a huge flop, and it
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I was afraid of. I said, man, I hope this film doesn't bomb.
you know I mean, folks, we come from the day, I mean, Lamont, you can relate, we come from the day when a film made $100 million. It was holy wow.
Yep.
It made $100 million. Holy crap, this is a huge film. And now if a film doesn't make 130 some million in its opening weekend, a big film, they're like, oh, this is a failure. This is
It's a huge failure. It's a huge failure. Didn't he make over 100 million? I was like, well, goddamn.
really.
Oh man, but thank God. I think had that film bombed, I don't think we'd have gotten Avatar.
No, we wouldn't have gotten Avatar, and eventually the 80 million sequels that will be coming out from
Hmm.
here until the next century. Uh, Ghost Cameron's still going to be making Avatar 6. It'll be like,
Oh,
but I will say, it's good for me who I like all films, not just DC or Marvel. I'm not one of those guys. I have usually followed DC. It's very exciting for a fan of DC comic book films to see a DC film be positively talked about by a large group of people and see it do well. That's very exciting for me because it means we may see more decent stuff coming out from
yeah,
them, you know.
which is about time because with the mess that was Batman v Superman and the Justice League,
The
and
4 hour Justice League's far better than Justice League. That's for
oh
sure.
yeah, that's true.
Um,
That's true. And hopefully this will set a trend because they do have a slate of films coming up with
mhm.
Black Adam, The
Oh,
Flash, and Aquaman. And that's those sets. So they all look pretty decent just by the trailers. But I am looking forward to seeing Dwayne Johnson do play Black Adam.
well, not only that, but
Mm.
I didn't expect to see the was it Justice Society or whatever in Black Adam either, because they did that teaser Heroes trailer, and along with Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Bronson of all people,
I know.
you've got Hawkman looking wicked. You've got some really cool characters. Again, picking some characters you might not be familiar with, which has me excited for
Hmm.
what DC may be going to. And they're sticking with Aquaman, which is great because I loved the first Aquaman, and Aquaman 2 looks like it's going to be fun,
Hmm.
you know. And I'm really interested in the Flash movie, not just because Michael Keaton's coming back, but let me tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, folks, I'm predicting it right now. The first time I see Michael Keaton, Batman 89 Batmobile on the big screen again, you're going to know it. You're going to hear it probably in Antarctica, uh, how I'm going to pop for when that vehicle shows back up on the big screen.
Yeah, so
Um,
just letting everybody know when that movie comes out and you hear someone screaming out loud, that's Mark.
don't, don't adjust your dial or anything. That's just me totally fanboying on that vehicle. So
Oh boy. All right, Mark. Once again, I truly enjoyed you coming on a short notice right there because I know
um,
we have limited time for you today. So I appreciate you
yeah.
coming on short notice right now. But as obvious, just like you do on your spoiler room, where you get a chance for me to shrill. Now it's time for you to shrill on what's coming up on your channel and the spoiler room.
Oh man, I'm horrible at this, but specialmarkproductions.com. We've got it there. I've got a link to the TikTok if you're interested and you have a minute, literally. On TikTok, I do 1 minute reviews of wide release films. I've been doing it for about 6 months now, a little over, and I've gotten enough followers now where I can do live uh, videos. So I may be doing some live stuff in the near future. So kind of exploring that, venturing out. Otherwise, I've got my YouTube channel where, yeah, I've been doing that this is coming on 16 years now.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, but specialmarkproductions.com is good. Spoiler room, we're doing this month, we're doing Maniac March. So we're doing films with the word maniac in it. Last week we did The Invisible Maniac. Later tonight, I'm recording my episode of Neon Maniacs. Uh, and then for our special yearly series we do, it's got a different theme every year. This year it's the horror of 1988. So next week we're doing Maniac Cop 1
Ooh,
with the late Robert Zadar, who I got a chance to interview many years ago. Very fortunate. So yeah, a lot of stuff. I'm always doing stuff.
mhm.
I have a patient wife and loving family who let me do my hobby. So,
I know.
and yeah,
So I
and
know
if you
because
haven't, check out Lamont stuff. Lamont is awesome, dude. It's always an honor to be on your show, man. You give some great breakdowns of horror films and such, man. And yeah. So, folks, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe right now.
hey, the more the merrier. I always love to have people come and people come and watch my channel and get a chance for me to talk and give my breakdown of what I thought about the films. The last movie I reviewed was a movie on Hulu called No Exit. Very nice
Hmm.
thriller film.
Mhm.
Really appreciate what it was done. Nice lead actress. Dennis Haysbert, he was in the
Mhm.
film, and I thought he did a pretty good job. Nice little thriller film.
Cool.
Right now I'm watching on Netflix called Pieces of Her that has Tony Collette in the character right there. It's a
Mm.
another interesting thriller. Obviously, my review of the Batman is up, and more than likely, I'll have some more horror films I got to be watching for the month of May. Watching the third season of Servant on Apple Plus TV.
Oh,
That's always good.
is that a good series? I haven't had a chance. I don't have Apple Plus, but I've
It's an
heard good.
interesting series, and
Yeah.
if you haven't watched it yet, it's in its third season right now. So
Mm.
yeah, it's very interesting, and
That
it
that's
was
M Night, right?
M. Night Shyamalan. He created
Yeah.
it, and well, obviously it was shot in Philadelphia. So people in Philly will actually know the
Sure.
area. I think they filmed some scenes on Spruce Street near 20th, and right in Rittenhouse Square. Especially in the third season, right in Rittenhouse Square. If you know Philadelphia, you'll recognize it. So, but that's what I have coming up on my channel.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool, man.
All right, the DC and Batman fans, hope you did enjoy this spoiler preview of Batman, the latest version of Batman. If you haven't seen it, go out and watch it, enjoy it. We think it's a great interpretation. Matt Reeves did a fine job. Obviously, Richard Patterson is finally getting rid of his um, his his
Well,
shadow of
he-
Twilight.
yeah, Robert Pattinson he's just like it's just like Kristen Stewart. Both of them got not acknowledged and got recognition. People recognize them from those films. They're so much better in their indie stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, Kristen Stewart is fantastic in Personal Shopper. I haven't seen Spencer yet. She's supposed to be amazing in it.
Yeah, I
Hopefully
know.
she
I
wins
heard
the
she was real good in Spencer. Yes.
Hopefully she wins the Academy Award. Robert Pattinson's been in some really wild stuff. If you don't mind Cronenberg, I would recommend Cosmopolis. It's a very unusual film, but he's so good in that.
Hmm.
So good.
Which actually shows you that they can, when given the right material, they can act.
Oh, absolutely. The right director, right material. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
So go on ahead. Like I said, sub to my channel, sub to Mark's channel, and I hope you guys have a good night. Stay safe out there, and go ahead, go see the Batman, everyone. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.